Hi, this is a quick tutorial on how to create an island in Gaia. In this particular case, very particular island. So this tutorial has been requested, so I'm just quickly going to do this, and I hope it's going to help some of you. So right here is our island. So the idea is to create something similar to this Easter Island setup. Not necessarily what's in the back here, but what's in the foreground. So you can see it's got a relatively steep cliffside, which is actually not ideal for Gaia. The steeper it is, the more problematic it gets. But we'll see what we can do. And then it's got this crater. So obviously it's volcanic, but it's almost got like a flat tabletop around it. So this is the type of island I'm going to try to create in Gaia right now. All right, so we're going to start out with a blank page. And in this particular case, I'm not going to start out with a mountain. Um, I'm going to go to a canyon. So we are going to drag in a canyon node. And in this case, our canyon is going to, we're going to change that to a collapse. So that closes our canyon off. And now we are going to, just adjust this so that it ends up essentially building an inverted island. So something like this here. This should work. And you can probably figure out what we're going to do next. We're going to look for an invert node, which I believe is blue. There it is. We're going to plug that in. And here it is. So here's our island to create maybe a little more tabletop. Maybe we can work on this a little more here. There we go. Okay, so that looks pretty close to what we're looking for. So something of this nature that will work. All right, and now we're gonna need a crater in this. So fortunately, we do have a crater node somewhere in here. Just gonna find it. There it is. And we don't want a crater field. We want a single crater. And we're probably gonna make it a bit smaller, a bit deeper. Okay, maybe somewhere here right now. And the one thing we're definitely going to have to do is so it just doesn't put it randomly into our island. We want to be able to make some adjustment to where it's sitting and to how big it is. So we're going to put a transform node after this. And with that transform node, I'm going to be able to shift it. I can adjust my scale, and I'm going to be able to shift it along my X and my Y, or rotate it however I need it. And then that is going to need to be combined. So we're going to take a combine node. I'm going to plug in our island. We're going to plug in our crater. And this is how it comes generally off the truck. And this is a little bit like Photoshop, with the blending modes. So you can see what each one is doing. In this case, I think embed maybe the right style. Maybe not. I'll probably leave it at embed. So think what we're gonna have to do. What I'm gonna have to do is play around with this crater a bit more. So I'm just gonna have to make this smaller and deeper. scale it down a bit. Gonna fill the edges here, otherwise we're gonna have, that's gonna, affect our build. See how that combines. All right. Bring this down here so it doesn't sit exactly in the middle. There we go. I think that will be okay. So after this combine, I'm going to add some fractal terraces, which are right here. So it's just going to add some stepping, so it just, it adds a little bit of variation here. And I think we can just leave it the way it is right here. And now what's really going to bring it together is erosion. And there's different types of erosion. But I'm just going to take the regular erosion right here, plug that in. And we can see immediately this thing is starting to look pretty good. And again, you can play around with your settings right there, but this looks pretty close to what I'm kind of like going for right here. And now we're just gonna, at this point, it's probably good to introduce our sea level. So we have our sea level right here. I'm gonna plug this into my erosion. And then I'm just gonna have to see, how high we need to go. There it comes. There you need to play a little bit with your shore size. Essentially your beach. Shore height variation is probably good. So you see, with the variation, there's like no beach here, but here is a bit of a beach. So that will work. Okay. And for the most part, this, was it. Obviously, we can try and with some rocky stuff, add some rocks into there. And make this a little bit more complicated and varied. But for the most part, this is kind of it. So we could just maybe play a little bit with the crater position. Try that here. Okay, so it's a little bit off to the side. Makes for a little bit more interesting thing. So, okay. So, and now we've got different ways of bringing this out. So if you want to bring this out as an OBJ file, then you have right here the measure. So first off, what we're gonna do is this very last node right here, I'm gonna right click and go pin as underlay. And I'm also going to mark this for export. And that mark for export is gonna have put it right here. So here's our measure. here's our sea. It depends on what software you're going in. If you are going into Unreal, then I believe Unreal will take raw, so you can make this a raw file, or you can also make it a PNG file. What you don't want to do is you don't want to create 8-bit files like this here, because that will show stepping. Your regular TIFF will show stepping. TIFF 16, I'm assuming the 16 is for 16-bit. I've been also taking terrains quite a bit into Mixer, and I think Mixer doesn't accept raw. I may be wrong on that. I'd have to double check. But I've been by default been going to PNG, which is I believe 16-bit. So, but raw would be better. But so I'm doing the PNG right here right now. And I can just connect here my mesher, or the other option is to create a portal. And now I can, for everything else, so that this, I like to keep my build apart from, everything that I'm outputting. So I'm taking my mesher here and I'm just dragging this out and go to portals and plug it into the C portal. So that's going to be right here. With the mesher, you got to be careful, because by default it comes off the truck as very small scale, I believe, if I find it. Whoopsie, it's not what I wanted to click. Let's see. Yeah, so here's your vertex count. Now in Unreal 4K is 4033, I believe. So but I mean, for a mesh, I don't really think it matters. So you could probably go 4096. I'm just kind of like used to, when I ever go into Unreal, to use 4033 for the textures. So you can type in whatever you need right there. I'm outputting an OBJ. FBX is listed. The one time I tried, it didn't work, so I'm just sticking to OBJ, but that may have already been fixed. I just haven't checked. And then you can go down here and look at your various different textures. So right here are a whole bunch of textures. Now, one thing I'll do like to do is potentially use the snowfall. Even if I don't use snow, this is not a bad way of adjusting for some grass in certain areas, for example. So you can play with this, where you want that grass to grow. So with the snow line, I should be able, yeah, so I should be able to just get this up top. And in the end, ultimately, this is just gonna, export a mask that you can plug in for anything. So and you have here a whole bunch of different ones that you can plug in. So curvature, growth, soil, angle. So there's a whole bunch. All of them will, it will show you right here how they look, what they will do. This right here is literally like the way it looks to me. It's like affected by the angle of the sun, or kind of like by the angle of the sun. Not really in here, but in a build it would be. So it seems like you have, yeah. So there's your angle. All right. So that way you could create, it's like one area has more vegetation than the other, or is mossier than the other, or even has snow. So this is pretty cool. Um, you have flow right here. Plug that in. And so this would permit us to change the material attributes, where all of those little uh, rivulets are. We could make it, create more vegetation, or we can create a similar material or the same material and make it look wet. And you can, obviously play with this here um, around. So you have a very, very large amount of options here. Now, if for something that is far away, you can also plug just in a texture, and then, so here's a nice texture, and then you can plug in a sat map into that, which is then going to apply color to it. So you've got, rocky, sandy, etc. And, here you just gotta go through and see what looks good. Um, First one actually didn't look so bad. One thing worth trying oftentimes is the reverse, if it looks better in reverse. Um, you kind of like get a feel for it, in terms of like fall off, left to right or right to left, which one looks better on a given, terrain, and then can play with it. Now, these will not hold up close, but it is a good way to get a very quick, interesting look on there. And if you have this in your build from a certain distance, then it's fine. So, and then all of this, you want to right click, mark for export, right? So, and each one of those is now being listed in that output. Otherwise, it's not going to be exported. So now in the build data right here, and since we're going into Unreal, I'm going to put this to 4033, and that means that it's going to fit straight on there. And I'm going to change all of these to raw PNG, as I said before. I don't think Quixel Mixer takes raw, but I think the engine does. So if you go straight into the engine, you might as well take the raw. If you go into Mixer, then PNG may be a better bet. But all of them should be, 16-bit or above. So there shouldn't be any stepping. It should be all good. And so now you have, in Mixer, you can bring in the height map, but the way I found is, especially in the verticals, you're better off bringing in the mesh into Mixer, and then just texturing it there. The one of the things that this is just a little warning: when you come straight out of Gaea in and you want to open up the mesh in Mixer, it always fails. All I do is I open it up in Blender, I save it as an FBX, I don't do anything with it, no UVs, nothing, just open it up, saving it, and then it opens up in Mixer just fine. So I just, it just requires this intermediate step. But yeah, so this is it. I hope this helped, and yeah, see you next time.